I'm so mad. I wish I never voted for Donald Trump.
You care about that, right? You want hardworking Americans. Okay, great. Then why didn't you vote for Kamala Harris, who wanted to do a 25% down payment on a home for people that are struggling to live paycheck for paycheck? Why didn't you vote for Kamala Harris, who does not? Hold on. I'm going to tell you who's going to pay for it. That was my next point. Donald Trump gave the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% in this country and his billionaire friends. Kamala Harris wanted to lower the tax bracket to 27% for income families that are making under $400,000 total income. Donald Trump is going to do the opposite, just like he did in his first administration. So I believe you, sir, David, when you say you think it's terrible that people can't afford a home, that people are losing homes. I'm with you 100% on that. Then why would you vote against your interest and vote for a guy by the name of Donald J. Trump, who does not want to give tax breaks to those that are struggling, who does not want to give a $25,000 down payment to people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck? Why do people like you vote against your own interests?
So you're saying that she was going to tax other people? So
yes, the top 1%. No, that's not how it works. She doesn't want to give. I'm going to explain it. I'm explaining it to you. She doesn't want to give the biggest tax breaks in decades to billionaires and CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Most Democrats agree with Kamala Harris that they want the rich to pay their fair share. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll tell you why. If you're making $25,000 a year, you shouldn't be paying the same percentage on taxes as somebody like an Elon Musk. But MAGA Republicans and the people, with all due respect, that you voted for, Donald Trump, do not want to change their tax bracket percentage-wise to the billionaires. You see, if billionaires paid a higher percentage on their taxes and those living paycheck to paycheck got a break on their taxes, which is exactly what Kamala Harris wanted to do, then the people that you say you're...
There are other people paying for my house. They're paying a higher percentage.
It's not...
That money and then...
It's not... It's not... It's a... Because it's a loan, and over time you would have to pay it back. And you know why they'd be able to pay it back? Because Kamala Harris, wait for it, wanted to lower their taxes.
Voted for Trump because he promised while he was campaigning like a million times that when he got into office he was going to bring down prices, bring down grocery prices. The inflation has been high ever since COVID, and he promised he would bring that down. But it's obvious to me now that that was not true. Egg prices have skyrocketed. The bird flu is killing all the birds, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything about that. He's stopping disease communications from the disease centers in America, pulled us out of the WHO. Like, how does that help anything? And yeah, all he's been doing is taking away rights and freedoms, or trying to. He's not doing anything about the economy. So yeah, we totally regret our vote at this point. We've had a really tough time here in North Carolina. Half of my house got washed away in Hurricane Helene, and I applied for FEMA assistance and we got approved. But now Trump is canceling FEMA and emergency assistance to people.
When I was a diehard Trump supporter, I was offended to my core when Hillary Clinton called us a basket of deplorables. Fuck, was she right?
So you're saying in 2025 we have an African-American president? No, I said we're having a South African president.
Egg prices have reached an all-time high.
It was before I ever got here, it was at an all-time. This didn't, remember, I've been here for 3 weeks. And when you saw the inflation numbers, I've been here for 3 weeks. I have had nothing to do with inflation. This was caused by Biden. I had 4 years of virtually no inflation. So I'm just taking over. But I'll tell you what, this country has made more progress in the last 3 weeks than it's made in the last 4 years.
It appears that our president has a sense of selective memory. This is the president who said on day one he was going to bring the price of eggs down. On day one, the price of groceries would go down. On day one, his presidency would end the war in Ukraine. At some point, the American people have to realize they've been duped. This president is a salesman of sorts, but not a salesman of goods, a salesman of false dreams, and suggesting to people that he has a magic wand, and then when it's time to perform, he blames it on the last person. I'll remind you that our economy was strong both times he took over the presidency, and within a very short period, he took it to the bottom. And he's on his way doing it again.
They're putting the mentally ill in camps now. Donald Trump and his newly appointed whatever the fuck he is, RFK Jr., are going to put mentally ill people into camps. Are we not paying attention, America? Like, come on. RFK Jr. goes after widely used antidepressants, claiming they could be a threat to Americans. This is a report from the Vanity Fair. Shout out to Under the Desk News, who broke this first. Within hours of taking the role, he released statements that they are view that a threat is posed by the widely prescribed SSRIs, or selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, like Zoloft, Lexapro, and Prozac. This is prescribed to 13% of American adults. They're going to make this go away. They don't want this to happen anymore.
Just in case I haven't made it clear enough, if you still support President Musk and the First Lady Donald Trump and Special Government Intern J.D. Vance, you're actual f***ing vermin.
Folks, let's talk about the Trump administration's policy machine, because it's working overtime like a caffeinated squirrel on a treadmill. Every day, it feels like there's a new executive order dropping faster than TikTok trends. 1 minute, you're sipping your morning coffee, and the next, you're scrolling through headlines like, wait, what did he just sign now? The sheer magnitude of these policies is staggering. It's like Trump has a buy one, get 50 free deal on executive orders, tax reforms, immigration crackdowns, trade wars, environmental rollbacks. It's a policy buffet, and everyone's plate is overflowing, whether they ask for seconds or not. But here's the kicker. While these policies are making waves in Washington, their ripple effects are hitting ordinary Americans like a tidal wave. Imagine waking up to find out your healthcare premiums just doubled, or your small business is caught in the crossfire of a trade war, or your favorite national park is now a drilling site. It's like playing a game of policy roulette, except the stakes are your wallet, your job, and your future. And let's not forget the emotional roller coaster. One day, you're cheering the God-sent savior during campaign. Yay! And the next, you're crying because your cost of living skyrocketed. Boo! It's like being in a relationship with someone who keeps surprising you, except the surprises are rarely the good kind. The MAGA crowd might be riding high on the rhetoric, but for everyone else, it's a mixed bag of what just happened and how do we survive this. The internet, of course, is having a field day, turning every new policy into memes, rants, and late-night comedy gold. Because if you don't laugh, you might just cry.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So J.D. Vance is now threatening judges, and he's warning them not to rule against the Trump administration under any circumstance. Here is what Vance just posted on his government account. Let's give it a read. Quote, "If a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general in how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power." First of all, that's false. Even the Supreme Court justices have the power to strike down any executive order should they deem it to be unconstitutional. Even in lower courts, states are allowed to sue the Trump administration if they view one of his executive orders to be illegal, and then a judge can take that case up and rule in favor of the states, which we just saw happen with the lawsuit involving DOGE having access to the Treasury Department payment system. So not only is Vance incorrect when he says that, but he is also telling every judge in America that if they dare to rule against the Trump administration, then they will be in violation of the law and that he will try to hold them accountable. This is an intimidation tactic being implemented by the Vice President of the United States to try to force judges into submission. Hopefully they don't listen. Hopefully they keep holding the line because, like I said, this is the end of democracy should judges kowtow to this.
Hey there, this will be short. 3 things. Number 1, yes, it's a coup, and the Republicans in the House and the Senate are in on it. Number 2, DOGE is not a thing. The president is not legally allowed to create a department without congressional authorization. So what we have are a bunch of randos, led by a rich guy, firing people and stealing our private data. Trump and the Republicans sold our country to this man for the low price of $277 million, paid to Trump and Republicans. And number 3, Musk and his goonies are not cutting waste. They're doing 2 things: closing the agencies that were investigating Elon's companies, and taking food and medicine from those with the least and giving the money to the wealthiest. How proud they must feel to take from those who have the least. And again, the Republicans are not only in on it, they helped plan this. Cowards and traitors, all. Hang in there. Love your neighbors. Sorry.
Elon Musk's latest role in Donald Trump's second administration has left many wondering, is he running the government, or is the government running for its life? As head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Yes, like the meme, Musk has taken a hacksaw to federal agencies, slashing budgets, firing officials, and effectively turning Washington into his personal startup. Unlike his other ventures, though, this one doesn't require Senate confirmation. Musk's companies, unsurprisingly, are thriving under his watch. SpaceX and Tesla pocketed billions in federal contracts, sparking concerns that the government might just be his latest acquisition. Meanwhile, legal scholars are raising alarms over his unchecked authority, arguing that his role violates the Appointments Clause. If Musk were a government employee, he'd need Senate approval. But as a special advisor, he can operate with all the power and none of the paperwork, a loophole so big you could fly a Tesla Cybertruck through it. His efficiency drive has been, well, efficient, but mostly in causing havoc. Thousands of federal workers have been laid off, USAID programs were abruptly terminated, and the CDC saw a 10% reduction in staff. When agencies like the FAA dare to fine SpaceX for safety violations, Musk simply calls for their elimination. His push to weaken financial regulations, just as he prepares to launch X money, raises eyebrows and possibly interest rates. With lawsuits mounting and a Supreme Court battle looming, Musk's government experiment could soon hit a legal speed bump. But until then, he remains the de facto CEO of America, blurring the lines between democracy and a Silicon Valley boardroom, where shareholder votes are optional and the loudest voice always wins.
I don't even know how to start this. I try to accept the fact that people have differences of opinion when it comes to politics and, would she have been the right choice for America? Was he the right choice for America? What have you? He's got a tough stance on immigration. She had a more lenient stance on immigration. She had a tough stance on taxing the rich. He has a more lenient stance on taxing the rich. She would not have allowed Elon Musk and his muskrats into government files, allowing access to, let's face it, all of our information, our social security numbers, our bank accounts, our tax returns, all that fun stuff, whereas he has allowed Muskrat to have full access to it and full access to decimating federal agencies, turning a blind eye to it, and there's only so much that the courts can do to stop this. You have Elon Musk threatening senators and congressmen, if you don't support Trump, then we'll make sure that you're not nominated again and what have you. And again, I can accept the fact that everybody has different views and opinions, but what I cannot accept, and I will not accept, and you can go to hell if you do accept, is the fact he is threatening to take over other countries. I don't give two whether it is Canada, whether it is the Panama Canal, whether it is Greenland, whether it is the Gaza Strip. We don't have any right to any of those. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. And yet that wit sitting in the White House thinks that Mango Mussolini, Pumpkin Spice Palpatine has no rights whatsoever to make these threats. And for any American that supports him in this, you go to hell. You go straight to hell.
So,
welcome back. So this is the FAFO season. A lot of MAGA voters regret voting for Donald Trump. One may ask, why do people regret voting for Donald Trump? This is as a result of series of problems that the United States is facing right after Donald Trump has resumed office. One of his key policies was mass deportation, where a lot of minority groups have been affected by this mass deportation. Talk about Cubans, Venezuelans, whose TPS has been cancelled by Donald Trump, and a lot of other minority groups who are also facing deportation. Among these problems is the problem of inflation. Donald Trump promised that on his first day of being in office, he will bring down the prices of groceries, but yet it is still skyrocketing. Also, Donald Trump rolled out a policy to cancel child care benefit, EBT card benefit, and other benefits that some households were getting. So this is why some MAGA voters regret voting for Donald Trump. But one may ask, didn't they know that all this was going to happen before they voted in Donald Trump? Now, when it comes to tax relief, Kamala Harris, who represented the Democrat Party, promised that households and families that were living paycheck to paycheck will be given a tax break, and taxes will be proportional according to the earnings of the household or the family. So in other words, people who were living paycheck to paycheck were going to pay comparatively smaller amount on their incomes, whereas the top 1%, that is the billionaires in the United States of America, were going to pay more in terms of taxes. And I believe this is quite good in order to support households that are struggling, because if taxes are uniformed in the country, people are making millions of dollars, while some people are just making about $50,000 annually. Meanwhile, if there is a 20% tax to be deducted, both the billionaire and the person living paycheck to paycheck, they all pay the same proportion of tax. Now, Kamala Harris proposed that she was going to give a tax break to these households that were struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, whereas she was going to increase that of the top 1%. But Donald Trump, on the other hand, did not say such things or was not willing to make taxes proportionate to the incomes that households were making. Now, there are a lot of executive orders that has been signed by Donald Trump, and some of them are not going well with the citizens of the United States of America. Trump made a lot of promises that he says that day one, he was going to implement such promises. Now, a lot of these executive orders were signed in day one when he assumed office as the President of the United States of America, but some of them he did not fulfill such promises. He said that the cost of groceries were going to reduce the first day he comes into office. Now reality has set in. He has come into office actually, but he has not been able to reduce the cost of some of these things. And when he is asked about some of these things, he keeps on blaming it on Joe Biden, the previous president, which should not be so. As politicians, we need to live up to our words. You don't promise people that from day one, this is what you are going to do. And then when you come in on day one, you keep blaming the previous administration. But this is the reality on the ground in the United States of America. And a lot of MAGA voters regret voting for Donald Trump. Let me know what you also think about this in the comment section below. Share your general thoughts and opinions about this video in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to share this video with your friends and your family on other social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and other social media platforms. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just click the subscribe button down here. Click on the subscribe button. Click as well on the notification bell. And I'd like to see you again in my next video.